Hey, Buff Nation, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Coming up this week in the Buffalo Stampede, the Colorado men's basketball team split two in the Bay Area. Big win over Stanford, loss against Cal, disappointing, but some history was made. We're going to break that down with my broadcast partner, Scott Wilkie. We're going to talk women's basketball, JR Payne. They get a big win over USC. Soccer with Danny Sanchez. They shut out the UNC Bears. Plus, we're going to look in on volleyball and tennis as well. Coming up this week on the Buffalo Stampede.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado! And the Buffaloes find the end zone! How about that?
Beautiful shot for the Colorado can celebrate.
Here comes Ralphie and your Colorado Buffaloes.
Time she'll take it. Maya's good from out top.
Let me hear you, Buff fans!
She's gonna fire the shot. Goal, Buffaloes.
Holy cow! What a play by Colorado! For three, they made him pay!
Tom McKinley down to one, fires in the paint. Jumper's up and good on the drive down the left side. By top of the key on the right side to Schwartz. Pulls up, three ball is on the way. To Silva. Fakes, drives down the left side of the lane, leans in, shot goes up. Rejected that time by Dallas. And the loose ball picked up by Colorado. Up the left side, Schwartz drives his way onto the bucket, all the way through into the corner. Gives up to Maddox Daniels for three from downtown. Maddox. Well, there's some great images of the Buffs kicking off their Bay Area road swing with a nice victory in Palo Alto. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. My broadcast partner, Scott Wilkie, joining us. Now, here's the downside. Colorado didn't pick up the back end of that road swing, so they didn't get the sweep on the road as they fell to Cal. We'll talk about that here momentarily. But an 18-point win to get that road trip underway as they win at Maples Pavilion over the Stanford Cardinal. Scotty, I thought that game last Thursday might have been about as complete a ball game as Colorado played all year long.
Played very good on both ends of the floor, Mark. Good defense. Offense was excellent. Ball was moving, high assist rate, and one of the best games of the year.
You know, it's amazing what happens when a team plays with energy. And I think we saw in that contest, Colorado played very sharp, had energy in that ball game. There was an edge to the way they played, I thought.
Yeah, they came with a purpose that night, and you know, it seems like things work out for you when you play with energy. The shots go in, you know, and things go well for you, and it did on Thursday night.
Yeah, without question. McKinley Wright was outstanding in that ball game. Probably took more shots than he normally wanted. Had 17 field goal attempts. Colorado needed that. Ended up with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists in the contest. That was a very McKinley kind of performance against the Cardinal.
Yeah, especially in the second half. He kind of took over that game like he has a tendency to do for stretches, and he refused to let the Buffs lose on that night.
You know, Eli Parquet had a couple of big threes. We've talked so many times in the various outlets here on the television show and the radio broadcast and certainly on the coach's show as well about the development of Eli Parquet. Scott, he's becoming a premier defender for Colorado. A lot of times he'll pick up, you know, leading perimeter players for the other team. And all of a sudden, he's become a guy that's hit some big shots for Colorado.
Yeah, he's such a much better shooter than he was as a freshman. And like Coach said, he gets them in the flow of the offense. He doesn't hunt shots. He lets them come to him, and he knocks them down when he gets them.
He's a very unselfish guy, and Scott's right. He kind of hits those shots in the flow, or in certain situations where he's hit one late in the shot clock where it's been needed. But that shot's been coming along. He's shooting over 40% from downtown. And after the victory by 18 in Palo Alto, we hear from the Beaumont, Texas native.
Yeah, we went in with a defensive mindset. We knew that we had to stop them from scoring, and because our defensive assignment slipped the last couple of games. I just let my defense start me up in the game. That's what I hang my hat on. So as long as I'm going out there doing my job on defense, I feel like I'm impacting them a lot. When we're slipping on defense, our offense usually slipping too because we let that get us going. But when our defense is going, we're going. So it just keeps the train rolling.
Eli Parquet after the Buffalo's 18-point win at Maples Pavilion as they knock off the Stanford Cardinal. Get the double digits in conference wins with 10 after that one. You know who else was great in that ballgame? Tristan DeSilva continues to play exceptionally well, getting more minutes with Jabari Walker out with a foot injury. Boy, Scott, you can almost see him game by game. In fact, trip up and down the court by trip up and down the court, growing as a player.
Yeah, Coach said he's been playing better in practice, which we don't get to see. But what you see in games is taking advantage of opportunities. You know, he wasn't getting a lot of minutes before. Now he's getting 10, 15, sometimes almost 20 minutes, and he's done well with it. Shot the ball very well against Stanford, and tonight against Cal he did too. He has 6 points, 4 rebounds, made some dribble drive moves, which we haven't seen from him. Confidence is growing.
You know, in that game with Stanford, obviously his older brother, Oscar Da Silva, who's in the running for Player of the Year, had a big game, and he's one of the better players in the league. We wondered when Tristan signed here, is he going to be that kind of player? You can kind of see it coming. He's got a very similar skill set.
Yeah, similar size, maybe a little taller and a little longer than his older brother, but you know, he doesn't do anything fabulous or flashy, but very fundamentally sound and plays the game the right way.
Yeah, there's something to be said for making the simple play. There was a play against Stanford where he cut through the paint, he got the pass high, he caught it high, he kept it high. He, pivoted and landed up and in. It doesn't seem like something that a lot of people didn't even notice, but it's a very fundamental and solid kind of play.
Yeah, that's something you're taught as a big man. You know, don't let the guards get at it, so keep it high. And, you know, what you see is a little lack of strength still from Tristan, which is going to grow. He kind of looks like a younger version of Oscar, and you can see another 10, 20 pounds what he's going to be like in a couple of years.
Yeah, he's only 210 pounds, but you wait till Steve gets a hold of him in the strength room and the weight room after during the offseason. That'll change by the time it rolls around next year. But the Buffaloes do get the victory in Stanford. Kick off the Bay Area swing with an 18-point victory over the Stanford Cardinal. When we come back, we're going to talk about the next ball game in Berkeley against the Cal Golden Bears. For 3 from the left side, shot goes, and there is rebound number 600 for McKinley Wright. In the storied annals of the Conference of Champions, he's the only player ever with 1,600 points, 600 assists, and 600 rebounds. McKinley Wright making history. Well, we knew it was coming, that historic moment when McKinley Wright would have 1,600 points, which he already had going into the ball game, over 600 assists. He got his 600th rebound late in the ball game against Cal. The historic moment, the luster taken off of that with the Buffs' 9-point loss. As they don't get the sweep in the Bay Area, they fall to the Cal Golden Bears. Back in a Stampede, Scott Wilkie, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Before we kind of break down the Cal game, Scott, I mean, just let's put in context what McKinley Wright was able to do. 1,600 points, almost 1,700 by now, 600 assists, and now 600 rebounds for a guy that's only 6 feet tall.
Yeah, what I've said is, of those numbers, the one that's most impressed me is the rebounding. I was a pretty good rebounder, and he passed me a couple of weeks ago.
And he's 9 inches shorter.
Yeah, and, averaging 4 or 5 rebounds a game for 4 years or 3.5 years is really impressive. And, Mark, one of the old saying is one of the greatest things is your availability.
Yeah.
And it also shows that he is available almost every single night.
Well, over the course of his career, I mean, he's a 30-plus minute kind of guy, and he becomes the first player ever in the history of the Conference of Champions to have 1,600 points, 600 rebounds, and 600 assists. I can guarantee you McKinley was hoping that was going to come in a win and not a 9-point loss. Disappointing loss for Colorado, dropping this ball game and not getting the sweep in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I really felt it was a game they should have won tonight. I think they're a better team than Cal, but Cal outplayed them tonight. And, the offense struggled throughout the night, especially in the second half, and they didn't make the shots when they needed to late in the ballgame.
You know, Tad kind of poo-pooed this when I asked him about it in the radio postgame about the heavy schedule. They played 4 games in 8 days. And he had just said, for example, last week, a similar situation with Oregon State coming in here on Monday night. He said, I'm not sure we got their best shot because of travel and all the games they played. I wonder for Colorado, they didn't play awful, but there just was a half-step slowness or so. The edge wasn't there for Colorado in this ballgame.
Yeah, I really thought it was their little fatigue that showed up tonight, and especially with McKinley, a guy that's playing over 30 minutes a game, and a lot of it is on his shoulders out there. He's got to handle the ball a lot. I think he's getting worn down a little bit.
Yeah, the Buffaloes get beat by 9 at Cal. They're on the road next week against the Oregon schools. After the contest, we heard from head coach Tad Boyle.
Yeah, this one stings, Mark. Again, I know I've talked about it before. We talked about it in the pregame. Cal is a team that's playing better. They're a hell of a lot better than their record. I can tell you that. They've got Matt Bradley back. They lost a lot of games when he was out. And with that being said, I mean, this is a game we should have won, but we weren't good enough tonight. We weren't good enough offensively in the second half. And we had some guys did not play up to their potential. And then defensively, Bradley goes for 27. And again, we talked about it in the preview as well. He didn't play the first game. They're a different team with him in there. And, they had a 3 at the buzzer to beat Utah the other night. And they're a team that's playing better. And we weren't good enough defensively tonight, and we weren't good enough offensively tonight. When you put those two things together, it's hard to win in any league. It doesn't matter if it's the Pac-12 or whatever.
Head coach Tad Boyle after the Buffaloes' 9-point loss at Haas Pavilion. Disappointing game for Colorado as they split that road swing. We continue with Scott Wilkie. 3 of 15 the Buffaloes shot from downtown. Scott, they came in shooting 38% from outside the arc. And I want that goes back to what we were talking about. 4 games, 8 days. When you lose your legs a little bit, your shot goes a little bit.
That's the first thing that goes is perimeter shooting, I think, usually. And they came into the game the best shooting team in the league from the three-point line, and that was a factor in the loss tonight. Yeah,
and a lot of those shots were wide open shots, and the assist numbers as a result were down, not only because they missed shots, but the ball movement wasn't quite there at times.
Yeah, like you said earlier, the sharpness just wasn't there pretty much on both ends of the floor and every aspect of the game. Wasn't like there was the worst game of the year, but the sharpness just wasn't there.
It's disappointing because USC and UCLA both narrowly won on the road against the Washington schools, and Colorado was hoping to kind of keep pace with them within shouting distance. Now they kind of drop back and give back some of that ground they gained with a victory over Stanford. Now they got to go on the road. This is, again, a period of when they got 4 straight road games, 2 in the Bay Area. Next week they're on the road against the Oregon schools. Thursday night, late one, they take on the Oregon Ducks, who are coming off a 2-point squeaker victory in Tucson over the weekend.
Yeah, the first one at Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene. Tough place to play. Oregon will press throughout the game usually and speed you up a little bit if you allow that. And then they got to go to Corvallis, which, you think that's a chance that we could win, but tough place to play on the road as well.
Yeah, they're a pretty good team, and that's been a tough area for the Buffs to go into. And when you get to Eugene, you got to face, you look at who the players are competing for Player of the Year. You got Evan Mobley at USC. McKinley, right, obviously.
Oscar De Silva.
At Stanford. And then Duarte at Oregon is as good as anybody as well.
Yeah, I believe Sam Duarte is one of the best players in the league. Very versatile. Both ends of the floor, can handle it, shoot it, and can defend.
That'll be a big ball game on Thursday night. Again, it's a late one, 9 o'clock Mountain Time. Scott and I hit the air at 8:30 on the Colorado Basketball Network with Buffs Warm-Up presented by Safeway. Disappointing as the Buffs get the split in the Bay Area. Coming up next here in the Stampede, we're going to talk women's basketball as JR Payne's team. It's a 10-point win over USC. Well, I'd like to see a women's basketball team getting itself ready for the game that's about to happen against USC, which they ultimately won by 10 points, 66-56, back in the Buffalo Stampede. Mark Johnson, we got JR Payne with us. Do you choreograph that little routine?
Yeah, no, if you see me dance, you would know I had no part of any of it. I just watch and enjoy.
So that's just kind of a players development.
Players only in the dancing circle.
Well, it certainly seemed to work as the Buffs go out and knock off USC. Buffs didn't have a second game. The UCLA game was called off. But let's go back and talk about that USC game a little bit. Give us a little report from it.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty game, early especially. We really struggled in the first half. We just were kind of lethargic, and I really thought we kind of looked tired, even though we'd been pretty restful all week. But we played a great second half, great fourth quarter. I think we beat them by 23 after the first quarter.
Wow.
So I was proud of us. We got down by, I think, 13 points and really kind of dug and clawed and worked our way out.
Rebounding was a big one in that game. We were talking on the radio show earlier this week. The Buffs were plus 19.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an enormous number at this level of play.
Yeah, and in any game, doesn't matter who you're playing, if you can out-rebound a team by almost 20, that's pretty good. So, and USC is a big team. They've got good, big, strong post players, and I thought it was a great overall effort. I mean, our point guard had 8 rebounds, so everyone was doing a job on the glass.
I was just about to ask you that, because, Maya Hollingshead, you get accustomed to her getting double-digit rebounds, and that'll happen. Are the Buffs a good team rebounding?
Yes, we are. It's always been one of our strengths. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. We focus on it in practice. And, going into games, we talk about we want to be plus 10 or plus 8 or, whatever it might be. We love to rebound.
Well, yeah, those benchmarks you were talking about, Tad talks about that a lot. What are kind of a handful of benchmarks you have every game? Plus 8 rebounding, you want to hold them a certain defensive field goal percentage?
Yeah.
Some things you look for.
Well, we always want to take more, or we want to make more free throws than our opponent takes. Earlier in the year, we were really struggling with our free throw percentage. Yeah. We were number 1 in takes and probably last in makes. But that's an area that we always try to focus on. Rebounding for sure. Holding a team to maybe 8 or less 3-pointers made, things like that. But kind of adjust game to game depending on their strengths.
Sure, you bet. Well, the Buffaloes picked that victory up over the Trojans after the contest. We heard from Sila Finau.
For us, it was basically like revenge. We knew that we should have won that game back in LA, but we didn't, so we just knew we had to step it up. And we know, we're getting closer to postseason, and we could potentially go to the tournament, so I think that's what drove us to want to get that win. During halftime, we just came together. We said we need to pick it up, we need to take care of the ball, start playing defense, get back on defense. I think just believing in each other and talking each other through the tough times helped us. People in practice, everyone's getting reps in practice, in shoot around, so I think everyone's still prepared well enough for games like this. I just know when I play fast, I don't play well, and they weren't really pressuring me, so that gave me the time to just settle, slow things down when people are tired, when I'm tired, stuff like that, so we got our offense together.
Well, there's Sila Finau after the Buffs' victory by 10 points over USC as we continue with JR Payne. It was kind of disappointing that you didn't get the UCLA game on a number of fronts, maybe most of which was the fact that the young ladies didn't get to have senior day here.
Yeah, we were very, very disappointed. I found out during shoot-around against USC, somebody walked in and said, hey, look at this, and the game was going to be canceled. So we were disappointed. We wanted that game at home. We didn't get to play them on the road the first time and felt like that was a game that we, could win. And they're number 5 in the country, so it would have been great.
Talk a little bit about Maya Holling. Should I mention her a while ago? She's been so unbelievably consistent for you this season, hasn't she? Yeah,
and Maya's been a good player for a long time, and has steadily increased her numbers and development. But something that she came into this year wanting to prove is that she could be consistent. She talked about it a lot in the offseason, and she is. I mean, she leads the league in rebounding. She leads the league in double-doubles. There haven't been too many games that she hasn't been on point.
Yeah, she's all-conference caliber player without question for the Buffaloes. How's it gone not having your point guard out there and the evolution and development of the players behind Jalen Gerard?
Yeah, I mean, Sila Finau has been incredible, from the point guard position. Before Jalen went down, Sila was averaging about 19 minutes a game, and now those numbers have jumped, exponentially with Jalen out. And she's just handled it like a pro. I mean, she just, we asked her, to just help us run good offense, get us into offensive flow, things like that. And she's just been awesome, and she's shooting the ball better, and she's leading, and she's, helping us do everything we need to do.
So the Buffaloes, it's amazing how long we waited for basketball to happen, and all of a sudden we're talking about the last small handful of games. You've got 3 games left, all away from home now, as the Buffaloes are on the road this week against the Washington schools, and then one against Utah before the Pac-12 conference tournament. Give us a quick comment about this weekend's trip to Washington.
Yeah, it's a really big weekend. It's an important weekend. We're kind of neck and neck with Washington State in the conference standings. They beat us here in a game that we thought we should have played better, and Washington's always tough. Utah's the rivalry game, and like you said, it's hard to believe we're here.
Yeah, it's stunning how quickly it goes. Well, good luck down the home stretch.
Thank you.
All right, JR Payne, the CU women on the road against the Washington schools this weekend, then Utah, and it's off to the Pac-12 conference tournament. Coming up next here in the Stampede, we're going to talk soccer. Danny Sanchez, the head coach of the soccer team, joins us. Well, there are some images of the CU volleyball team dropping a couple on the road in Pullman, Washington, to the Cougars of Washington State. Now the volleyball team comes back home. They got Washington right here at the event center coming up this weekend. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Danny Sanchez. We're talking women's soccer sitting at 2-0 in the season. A victory over DU, and then a nice little shutout 3-0 over Northern Colorado as well. Well, you're just living life high on the hog, aren't you?
I don't know about that one. It was the 68th minute. It was still 0-0 with Northern Colorado, but we scored 3 good goals at the end to get the result, so we're pleased with that for sure.
All right. Well, what's the coach's report card then after 2 matches this year?
The DU match, we knew it was going to be a tough one. We hadn't played in 15 months, and we lost 6 starters and a couple good players that we've had. So it's kind of what we expected. We're fortunate to get the own goal in overtime. We're pleased with that. Northern Colorado, I felt the second half played really well. First half was still a little bit sloppy, but I thought the second half was much better. And like I said, the first goal maybe a little fortunate, but the last two goals were very good quality. I don't care who you're scoring against. If it's the back of a net, we'll take it. So a good 3-0 as we lead into next weekend.
If I remember correctly, I think you outshot the Bears 19-5, I think. Talk about your team defensively a little bit. You haven't given up a goal in 2 games.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, obviously we're looking at a couple goalkeepers. And so good competition there. We have really only 2 starters in the back, Gabby Chappa and Hannah Schartz, with Hannah Cardenas being out for a couple weeks. So some freshmen have come in, and Jade Babcock, she came in as well against Northern Colorado, and they've been solid and really limited the opportunities. But we also know there's a lot more pressure coming.
Yeah, without question. Talk about that goaltender competition you got going on.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Hansen, a local product, has a little bit of experience under her belt from Washington and decided to come back home, and she's been really good. And Megan Short's been here for a couple of years, so we felt it was time to give her an opportunity, and she got the shutout. Didn't face a lot, but dealt with what she needed to deal with. That battle will continue, and we still have Emma Miller that's really improved as well.
You bet. Well, it's going to be a good competition to kind of watch over the next few weeks, as the Buffs, in fact, have got Weber State coming to town. We'll talk with Danny about that. How about that tennis team? They continue to play very well and got a sweep of the Wyoming Cowgirls last weekend.
For me, I love playing doubles so much. It's my favorite part about tennis. I guess the major difference is you have someone to support you when you're playing doubles, and that really helps me. If I'm feeling down, I have someone there to pick me up. For me, I really like it when I'm at the net, and I feel like I definitely have more of an opportunity to do that in doubles. I think me and Sophia had a really great start. We came out hitting the ball, serving well. I think we served really well the first few games. We had like a bit of a lapse of concentration, but managed to get back into the groove of it, so I'm really happy with how we played. I'm so proud of these girls right now. It's definitely been such a tough year, starting from last year when season got canceled. I'm feeling really confident about my game. I think I'm improving every week, and that's my goal. So far, I've been really happy with my matches. I feel like I'm learning a lot. Whether I win or whether I lose, I think I'm taking a lot away from my matches, and I think that's really been helpful. It's amazing. It's been such a long time since we've come back and had competition, had matches every single week. I'm so grateful that I can even be in the US right now playing tennis, and I'm so happy that the team is here, minus Tallulah, but I'm just so grateful to have the team here and to be able to support everyone once again.
Well, fantastic job with that tennis team. We continue talking soccer now with Danny Sanchez as they get set. Conference play's not too far around the corner, but hey, at some point very quickly here, and the weather's been so awful as we all know, you're going to have a brand new big scoreboard that they'll erect out there on a game-by-game basis. It's going to be awful nice for the atmosphere.
I think once Derek Swanson with Buff Vision kind of gets that approved that we can have it out there, because we got to make sure. There's lots of codes. There's always, as you know, there's bureaucracy that goes around it, but I think the fans we had it for a similar one for women's lacrosse in their Pac-12 tournament a couple years ago. This one's actually bigger and better. So once we can get the full crew out to print up, I think everyone's really going to like it.
It's just awful nice when you get the bells and whistles around and kind of help the atmosphere. That's great. All right, you got Weber State coming up. Give us a quick thought about that one.
Yeah, I mean, Weber State just had a nice draw with Utah on the weekend. So they're much improved, new coach. They're making the commitment to come here to play a single game against a Pac-12 team. So I expect a really good match as we kind of build towards Pac-12 play starting next weekend.
Yeah. Do you like the way that this schedule's set up for you, for a team where you've got some questions about kind of building for league play?
Yeah, I mean, we're limited. Obviously, it had to be at home, had to be local, and Mountain West is no non-conference, so we're kind of limited to who we can even play. So we appreciate these teams playing us. It'll help us get prepared for Pac-12 play, but really, especially this year with a limited NCAA tournament, half the at-large bids is a normal year. It really is all about Pac-12 play.
I know you guys are like everybody else. You're happy to be back in the playing service, obviously, but boy, it's a chore, isn't it? Kind of navigating all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've been living with it for 9-10 months now, so I think we're kind of used to it. But yeah, it is. I mean, and the players, we talk about it every day with them, the sacrifices and the professionalism and the really how they have to be prepared for change, and so far so good this winter, spring, but really once we get into Pac-12 play, we're really going to have to be focused.
And it's not far until the Buffs do get back into Pac-12 play. Was it Washington State coming up first?
No, at Washington, and it's interesting this year, since we're going there, on the Friday will be a Pac-12 game, conference game, and then the Sunday will be a non-conference game. So you'd like to say, well, the first one matters, but you're playing a Pac-12 team, they all matter.
You know what? Go to the CUBuffs.com website. You can find the schedule as it is and kind of follow along. You almost need a chart this season to know exactly what's happening with all the teams here at the University of Colorado. Well, Danny, good luck.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, Danny Sanchez, soccer coach here at the University of Colorado. That puts a wrap this week at the Buffalo Stampede. I'm Voice of the Bus, Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.